We are going to get started here. Thank you guys for your patience. I understand the last session ran a little bit long, which gives us the right to run a little bit long, so I'm happy about that. We are going to have some fun today. We're going to look at the Google DMO Partnership Program 1 year after Destinations International last year. With me today, I've got Stafford Marquardt. I'm never going to say that right, who you guys hopefully heard at Global All-Stars yesterday. Also Aditya Mahesh from Google as well speaking. C.A. Clark is going to be stepping in pretending he's from a destination, but he's actually part of the Miles team and leading the technical and sort of programmatic vision from the Miles perspective on the Google program. Rich Basen from Discover the Palm Beaches is here, and Leah Chandler from Discover Puerto Rico is also going to be talking a little bit about the plans around this program and the island. So what we're going to cover today is we're going to do a brief look at some of the consumer trends that are really accelerating change around the search space, around consumer behavior as it relates to travel discovery. We're going to look at what has happened in the year since I stood on the stage in Montreal, dodging tomatoes. We are going to look at a kind of a deeper dive at some opportunities for destinations to do really creative storytelling, both through Street View and through posts. We've got a couple DMO success stories or success stories in the making that will hopefully give some motivation, some ideas to the folks in the room here. And then we'll leave you with some ways to get involved, next steps, how to take advantage of some of these opportunities. So let's start with kind of a brief look at some of the trends that are really shaping behavior for consumers that ultimately impacts this industry from a DMO perspective, particularly digital. There are going to be almost 171 million searches by the time this session ends. And that's just on Google, which maybe there's 172 million total. So that's going to happen by the end of this session. Most of those searches, no surprise probably to anybody here, are going to be on mobile. More than 60%. More than 20% are going to be voice searches of those on mobile. And probably 50% of those voice searches will be accurately translated. 70% of users are now saying that they use their smartphone all the time while traveling. And I don't think that's probably a surprise to anyone, but why is that important? Well, what's important there is from a search engine perspective, and this translates through all the major search engines, they're radically transforming from a search engine to an answer engine because users are expecting to get the information they are looking for within the results of that search engine. And that's coming in a lot of different forms, and that is where the engineers at Google, at Bing, are working to create these different information devices, whether it's things to do carousel, whether it's the knowledge panel on the right side, whether it's featured snippets, quick answers. All of that is in order to give the user the information that they are looking for without necessarily having to get to a website. So it's no longer a list of resources to answer your question, it's a list of answers for your question. So why this matters to us? While there are those 170 million searches in the next hour, 40% of those are not going to result in a click to a website because the user's query, the user's question is going to get fulfilled through these other products, through these other content delivery mechanisms. So that impacts us as a destination. And we were in the middle of this study last year and looking at, we all knew organic traffic was becoming a challenge for destinations. And that is a challenge for us as an industry because traditionally we've trained our stakeholders to look at organic website traffic as a primary measurement of our digital success. And so suddenly we're playing a game where we are trying to increase traffic, not quality. And we suggested last year that there needs to be a fundamental shift in the industry to look at how we measure digital success. And that has proved itself out. In 2017, for the first time in 4 years, after 3 years of double-digit growth on average, in the 40-plus sites that we track, organic traffic was flat. I heard actually at eTourism last year, the phrase was flat is the new up for organic traffic. So what does that mean? It means we need to change how we view and measure our success digitally. We've traditionally been focused on what we, forgive the overly dramatic iceberg metaphor, but we've traditionally been focused on what we can measure and what we can report, which are our own channels, it's our website, it's our paid social, it's our PR, the things that we can put a report in front of a board, in front of our industry partners, and show progress, show growth in. But the majority of consumer interactions with our destination, with the content that ultimately motivates travel decisions, are happening beneath the surface of the water. They're happening in Google, they're happening in TripAdvisor, they're happening in Facebook. It doesn't mean that what we can measure and see isn't valuable. As I like to say, the website for the DMO is the retail store. It's where you get to showcase your product in a way that has context, that tells a story, in a way that truly immerses the person in the destination. But just like a retailer, you can't live on your brick and mortar store alone. You have to have other channels where you are distributing your product, where your customer is, and you have to meet them there. And that is really what this is about. So Google has also seen the opportunity in that they have the reach, but the people in this room, the people in this industry, ultimately have some of the highest quality content to connect with Google's consumers, which are our consumers, and motivate them to make decisions around travel. So that is really what this is all about, is about how do we as DMOs get that content that we spend so much time, effort, money creating in front of consumers in the channels that they are actually making decisions in and doing their travel planning research. And these products are extremely important not just to us as destinations, but to our industry partners, because ultimately most of Google's products are built as a sum of parts. So if we as DMOs can create value in educating our partners, then they can create value in content that ultimately uplifts the destination. So last year, I was up here and I was making this radical proclamation, and then afterwards about 20 people came up to me and challenged me with this idea, because historically there's been a perception of competition. A year later, we have now Miles has worked with more than 50 destinations on this program. I know that there are a ton of other destinations that are doing things independently or through other partners. And this is no longer a competition question, it is a collaboration question. It is a how do we best do this together? How do we best leverage Google's products, Google's audience to tell our stories as destinations? So Google offers 13 free tools to destinations. Those tools range from, obviously the Google My Business application, the ability to do Street View, to do posts, which we're going to dive into a little bit more deeply, but also a support form, which I'll show you next, the ability to do camera loans. If people haven't applied for that, you need to apply for that right now. There are 13 free tools that any destination can get started with to expand your reach and increase your relevance with your industry partners. From the DMO support form perspective, once you are registered as part of this program with Google, you can submit issues, inaccuracies directly to Google, and you will get a response and generally have things addressed relatively quickly. I want to put one point of clarity here. It's not, I don't like this picture. That is not an issue. It is not someone said something negative about our destination. That's not an issue. But if there are inaccuracies, if there's misinformation, submit it through this form, and Google wants their products to be as accurate as possible as well, and those things will be addressed. From a Miles perspective, again, from a 100% transparency point of view, what we are doing is offering a set of support services around Google's core products. We've worked with 50 plus destinations in that time. We have a bunch of really great case studies. I like to use the analogy, Google has, in essence, a free auto parts store with some manuals, and anyone can come in there and get the parts to build the car and take the manuals out. We are a skilled mechanic who has built a lot of cars and know how to make them go fast. If you would like to use our services, we would love to help you. At the same time, we just encourage everyone to go to the store and start building the car. So, you can go to milespartnership.com/Google DMO program. You can sign up. You can also, I'll repeat this at the end, but come to the booth, sign up. You can opt in to receive information or for us to reach out to you, or you can just sign up directly for the Google program in order to get access to these tools. Either way, I encourage you to come to the booth at lunch. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to the fun stuff. Stafford, please take us away with a wild tour of Street View. Do you want this, or you mic'd up? All right.
Do you need that?
Yes.
All right. Can everybody hear me? Great. All right. I'm Stafford with Google Street View, and I'm going to talk to you today about how you can make your own Street View. So, why should you do that? There are a number of reasons that this is good for your tourism organization. First of all, the obvious one, show people your market, show people the place that they're going to go, spend their time, have their convention, have their event, whatever. Show them the pretty beach, show them the hotels, show them the restaurants, etc. Make them feel comfortable, right? And I think that this is very important as we get into emerging markets where there are a lot of really interesting tourism destinations, some very affordable beaches, things like that. But maybe people are afraid of a new country that they haven't been to before. Maybe they have perceptions in their mind that can really only be dispelled with compelling imagery, right? There's truth in imagery. That's something you don't get with a lot of other products. And with spherical imagery, with 360 imagery, you can't hide anything, right? So there's authenticity there. And then once people arrive at your destination, they need to find things. And if you were there in my talk yesterday, you'd know that Street View is one of the biggest ways that Google makes maps. So yeah, we have these other contribution flows like local guides where people can say there's a business here, this is a one-way street, that sort of thing. But the vast majority of our map content actually comes from Street View. We have computers that go through all of the imagery in Street View, pull out businesses and signs and roads and lanes and build the map that way. So if you get Street View in your destination, the map gets better. People can find restaurants, people can find hotels, they can get directions in a safe way to the place they need to go. They can search for sushi on a Friday night. Everybody's really happy. There are some other reasons that it's good for the community. And so a lot of successful partners so far have found a lot of value in working with the local community to make life easier for themselves. You don't need to do this task alone. Aiding local infrastructure is a big part of this. So in a lot of these places, maybe the address system isn't super developed. Maybe the local government doesn't actually know where stuff is. In Tonga, for example, we worked with the post office to add Street View because the post office saw a vested interest in figuring out where everything actually was at a central level, instead of each postman knowing, like, oh, these 5 houses are here or whatever. Giving a voice to local culture. So again, like drawing back to this Tonga example for a moment, there are twice as many Pacific Islanders living outside the countries that they're from as inside. And they lose this connection to local culture. But with Street View, people can virtually visit their previous home or their ancestral home, get this connection back, maybe start repatriating money, maybe telling other people to visit the destination, feeling this real, a sense of community again, even if their community is spread across the world. And then lastly, improving disaster planning. So this is especially important in tropical destinations that are prone to hurricanes and cyclones. You want to get this stuff mapped before the disaster comes, so you know after the disaster what needs to be rebuilt, and you can more easily coordinate disaster efforts. And then after the disaster, going again to show people, hey, stuff's back online. We rebuilt. It's safe for you to come here. These news stories tend to run over and over and over again and get this life of their own, and eventually people think that this destination is permanently ruined, and that's just not the case. So think about this in all cycles of disaster, if that's important to you. So anybody can make Street View. I talked earlier about how you can work with the local community to have them do some of the heavy lifting. And in the Street View app, you don't need any special hardware. Like, you can just open up the Street View app, you can turn on the camera and you can spin around in a circle and make Street View. So anybody can make Street View. At a very simple level, you can have a program where you encourage people to go out in the downtown area of your destination, create some Street View, maybe share it on Facebook or Twitter, tag it, and you could have a really cool and easy campaign that way. Publishing is just a click away in the Street View app. And you can even make connections. So here's an example of doing a very quick and dirty shoot of a hotel. Like this is, I think, 8 photos that are connected, and you get this very rich Street View experience with the arrows and everything. So anyone can make Street View. What about real Street View? What about a Street View car, right? What if I want to make a Street View car? I being you. Well, that's a thing. So a few years ago, we launched support for one-click cameras. So there are 360-degree cameras, kind of like this, very small. You can just take out. If you have a selfie stick, then you can do this sort of thing, and you can walk around, and you can be like a Street View guy, right? What if you want to put that on a car? So we've seen people doing this all around the world, right? Like, it's kind of frightening how this guy is actually the driver of the car. It'd feel better if it was happening on the other side, but like he's just cruising around doing this. And this was actually in the capital city of Burundi, which is the poorest country in the world, maybe second poorest now, but still, if this can happen there, and all that blue stuff is Street View, right? So if this can happen there, this can work anywhere. And this is what it looks like. So this is a country that Google has never gone to with Street View. Really, it's never gone to with any mapping efforts whatsoever. And look at them now. So because of this, we went back to the Street View app and we said, hey, we should build a mode that actually focuses on Street View cars and really let anybody build a Street View car. So we did. Now you can open up the Street View app, connect a camera, drive around, we plot your line on the map, and you publish to Street View. And you actually get the blue lines that you're familiar with in Street View. And these blue lines have been motivating for the communities as well. So in Japan, a bunch of guys went out, put one of these cameras on their car, drove around this whole island, and added blue lines. This is something that could work on your island as well. I'm assuming some of you have islands. Just making sure. And speaking of islands, Curacao is doing the same thing in the downtown area. And even in rural parts of Brazil, right? So yesterday we talked about this Safari Lodge example in South Africa. People want to see what they're going to get when they're doing these really rich cultural experiences. So talking about cameras, we have 5 of them right now that work on cars. If you go to our website, which I'll put up in a second, you can see more information on them. Basically, you get the camera, put it on your car, put it on your helmet, put it on your bike. We have backpack options, and you go make Street View. And if driving isn't what you want to do, we also have many options for indoor Street View. This is the more traditional sort of 360 virtual tour stuff. So you go through your hotel, go through your restaurant, take a bunch of panoramas, connect them, let people virtually explore before they go. So all this information and more at google.com/streetview/publish. Some of you are taking pictures. And resources for professionals who want to get involved in creating this stuff instead of paying somebody else to do it. Google.com/streetview/sales has all of our branding information, what you can and can't do with the imagery, how you can brand each and every panorama so people see the name of your destination, like they did in Bermuda, by the way, very good example. And then, if you want to try a camera for free, g.co/Trekker. Trekker is the name of the Street View backpack. So this has the way that you can apply for a loan of the Trekker as well as any of these off-the-shelf options. So when I give this away, most people are like, oh yeah, I want the Street View backpack. But you should know that there are pros and cons, right? So the Street View backpack, super heavy, weighs 50 pounds, looks really cool, but it weighs 50 pounds. You collect the imagery, you pull the disk out, you ship it back to Google. Whereas with these third-party options, very lightweight, very versatile. You can also shoot video that you might put on your own YouTube channel. You can review everything before it goes live. So really good options on both sides. It just depends on what you want to do for your own campaign. All right. I'm going to bring up my colleague now to talk about posts.
So hi, my name is Aditya, and I'm a PM on Posts on Google, and I'm super excited to be here today to talk to you about how your cities can use posts. So there are many people who are searching for cities on Google, and Posts on Google is a way for your city to create content and then have that content appear whenever users search for you online. So any post you make will appear in the knowledge panel, which is the informational box that you often see on the right-hand side of the screen. And posts can include images, text, links, YouTube videos, and each post can have up to 10 images and videos. We also have story posts, which can be up to 10 pages long, as well as post types for events and polls. And we have over 100 cities all around the world posting today. So what I'd love to do is walk you through some examples of what content cities are posting, and then talk about how you guys can post as well for your cities. So we have Orlando, Florida posting, and they're making posts around top 10 lists. So here's top 10 reasons to visit Universal City Walk. They also make posts for local openings. So here's a post for the Toy Story Land opening, as well as posts highlighting what's new in the area. We have Lafayette, Louisiana posting, and they've made posts highlighting local businesses, as well as posts for local events and local sporting events. We have Vancouver, Canada posting, and they've made posts that highlight certain neighborhoods, as well as a post here about a jazz festival and a list of 25 free things to do in Vancouver. We have Wanaka, New Zealand posting, and they've made posts about the top attractions in the area, as well as the opening of a ski resort and a video highlighting the top ski runs in the area. Marina Del Rey, just up the road, is also posting, and they've made posts highlighting local food trucks, what to do in the city on Mother's Day, as well as posts highlighting local bands. Santa Clara, California is posting. They've made posts about upcoming events, upcoming concerts, as well as posts highlighting local businesses. Memphis, Tennessee has made posts around a travel vlog in the area, as well as free concerts and a video highlighting things to do in the city. Bermuda has made posts, so here's a post about the World Rugby Classic, as well as an event post for every individual match in the tournament, and then an event post here about a food truck festival. And lastly, Ubud, Indonesia has made posts around local attractions, local celebrations, and an event post around a kites festival. And one more, Gold Coast, Australia has made posts around the Sand Art Festival, a surfing festival, and then also just a general tourism video that they have. So posting is really quick and easy. Once you have an account, all you have to do is go to post.google.com/author, log in, and then any post you make will appear live on search right away. And we have a quick start guide to help kind of show you how the product works. And if you're interested in posting, all you have to do is email me at cityposts@google.com with the name of your city, and we'll get your account set up right away. You can also find more details on how this works at post.google.com.
Aditya, there's no cost at all.
No, there's no cost.
Excellent, thank you. All right, everybody get that one? We can come back to that one later too. All right, so now we're going to take a look at 3 different DML case studies. I'm actually going to do, as Nate mentioned at the beginning, I'll do the first one as if I am from Bermuda, so you have to pretend. The 3 things we're going to look at today were selected from the 50 different destinations that we've done work with. I realize that we have a bit of a theme here going with beaches, so you can pretend that this could work equally for urban or mountain type destinations. But the 3 that we selected were selected to try to highlight different use cases for all of these different options. So the 3 that we'll look at will be a little bit of information about exploration and storytelling from Bermuda, a story about reach and relevance from Discover the Palm Beaches, and then some information about rebuilding, which Stafford has mentioned here a little bit from Discover Puerto Rico. Okay, so starting with the Bermuda case study example that we have, this is what the street view looked like on the island of Bermuda. Whole island is about 27 square miles. And you can see here the blue lines, as Stafford was referring to here, is the street view that was shot. That was shot in 2015. It was from Google, the official Google footage. You'll note here that they did not import a car, so they actually had like a rented car that was done there. But that footage was, pretty good. There was some decent coverage that was there. Certainly better than nothing, but we felt like there was an opportunity both to to improve the coverage, but also to update that information from 2015 to 2018. So here again is what it looks like in 2015. And then we went and shot the whole island, and you can see here the additional coverage. So there's about 4 times as much coverage of the island than what was done in 2015. And then from the DMO's perspective, that's also branded, which we'll look at in a second, but they have the ability to control that. So if there are sections of the island that need to be updated more frequently, or places that get added, or new streets, or things like that, they actually have the control to be able to do that now, which didn't used to be the case with Street View. So we had quite a lot more coverage there. This is an example of just I'll go through some of the quick highlights of what we shot here. But we really got some just beautiful footage all around Bermuda. Some of it, this is actually a street that looks like a sidewalk. That was one of the things we discovered there, is that there's kind of a fine line between what's a driveway and a sidewalk and a street in Bermuda. So some of the street view might actually be more like a sidewalk view, but definitely some really interesting shots that we took there. This is Bailey's Bay. This is one of the top 10 images from the set of everything that was uploaded in Bermuda. So this is one of the most viewed images that we have in there from a 360, and you can see why. Beautiful colors, really highlights a lot of what is unique about Bermuda. These are all different landmarks that are part of it that you can explore through Street View, to Stafford's point, trying to understand what it looks like when you get there, how to get around, what will it be like once you get to Bermuda. So there's Gibbs Hill Lighthouse, there's Black Watch Pass, which has a famous story that goes along with it. So there's an opportunity here for the DMO to start telling stories about these landmarks and about the different places on the island that you could visit if you were going to go there. This is a bridge that goes across to a little island called Coney Island. I did not see any hot dogs on there, so I'm a little disappointed about that when we got there. Another famous landmark is the Unfinished Church. There actually is some Street View that was shot with the Trekker backpack that is inside that, so you can not only kind of drive around it here, but you can actually go up the little sidewalk and walk through Street View. You can walk around in the Unfinished Church and take a look at it. Okay, here's another one. This is Fairyland Creek. I did not see any ferries when we were there, but I did keep an eye out for that. And then the Royal Naval Dockyards, just as an additional example there. Okay, so in total, there were 366,000 images that were uploaded. That was 582 gigabytes of data by the time we were done. There's six lenses, so there's 6 camera feeds that all have to be stitched together in order to make that happen. And it was about 30 hours of captured footage. Okay, the important part though is that really was up starting on June 1st, and that's 2.1 million views of that content. So of those 366,000 images, you've got those images being viewed 2.1 million times really in about 5 weeks. So there's a tremendous opportunity here to get this information in front of people. They are hungry for this information. They are using this information. And it's an opportunity for the destination to control that and to be part of that story instead of letting it happen kind of outside of their purview. Okay, all 366,000 of those images, as Stafford referred to earlier, have the logo, have Bermuda's logo on them. I think in a lot of cases, Stafford, you have referred to this as the adopt a highway, right? If you're going to go out and shoot this stuff, then you get the attribution for that. So there's an opportunity there from a branding perspective too to kind of reinforce that brand. So I encourage you to take a look at the footage that we shot on Bermuda. Some pretty exciting stuff going on there. Okay, I'm going to hand it over now to Rich, and we're going to switch over to discover the Palm Beaches. Oh.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me? I want to take a little bit of time and just touch on the Palm Beaches. I think most people think of Palm Beach as the Palm Beaches, and that's certainly one city within our destination. We actually have 39 cities and towns within the Palm Beaches. The county of Palm Beach is actually bigger than the state of Rhode Island, so it's a pretty big plot of land, about an hour north of Miami and about 2 hours south of Orlando. We pride ourselves because of the plot of land that our destination is on, with the diversity of tourism assets. And I would say that this is not one of our tourism assets. This was turned up in an audit that we did with the Miles team right off the bat. And while there are a number of fantastic images that are pulling through the Google ecosystem, things like this made us want to just jump right in and get started with taking care of this. So this is actually in an area on one of our western communities, and obviously it's not one that we want to have around. So we removed this rather quickly. Moving forward, here's another great example of another image that we didn't want to keep up for too long. And this is pretty sad. And if you look in the right-hand corner of that thing, that's a dead chicken. So I don't use the word Santorini too often, but it did kind of come up when we were going through this audit. And this is a sad case because the Gulfstream Hotel is actually closed now, but is actually on the U.S. Historic Registry. And it's almost a 100-year-old hotel. Unfortunately, it's seen its better days, and we hope that someone will come in and buy it and improve upon it. But one thing I did want to mention here is that it's beyond the images that we have taken care of. So we did fix the image, but we've also labeled it as permanently closed, just to make sure the city of Lake Worth is getting, all the right respect it deserves, because obviously if somebody's looking at Lake Worth and they saw that picture, they're probably not going to want to go. So we needed to pick up the pace on fixing that. So we did, with the help of Miles and Google. Some traction that we've had multiple images that have been selected as heroes for the trips and travel guides, including stints as cover images, so we're very proud about that. And the Boca Raton image that you see right there has already had over 1.3 million views, so we're pretty proud of that traction. For this was an engagement meeting that we had to kind of kick off the project with Miles, and Miles came to visit us in the Palm Beaches. We had this at PGA National, and it was attended by about 50 community organizations. Since then we've been able to achieve 285 data points have been updated, over 200 locations have been covered. We've increased the Google My Business profile completeness as well. And with that 50 partners that attended, was probably our most engaged meeting that I think we've ever had with Discover the Palm Beaches. They literally stayed for an hour and a half to 2 hours after the meeting was over to ask questions about how they can improve their content on Google. So we knew we had something going on right off the bat. Some immediate results now. This was from day one, so our DMO had impacted about 9 different locations before this project started. And some of the results that we've gotten are obviously increased visibility of the DMO assets and the quality of content of data. We've also become the first county-level DMO with access to post, and we've generated over 6 million views through 700 asset uploads. So we're pretty proud about that. But we're even more proud about what we've impacted here in just a few months. And as you can see, all those points are what we as a DMO have impacted. So pretty impressive from our perspective, and I think that's the reason why Miles asked us to speak here, is because we see this as a success. What's next? We're shooting new 360s and Street View using 5 different cameras, so we're all on board on that. We're continuing to add content and data. We're having scheduled industry trainings. Those are ongoing, and really rethinking our approach to photo shoots and content. I will leave you with one thing here before I wrap up, is that as a DMO, you can work with Miles, and then they are a fantastic organization. They help lead the way. I would highly recommend working with them. But you as a DMO have to do the heavy lifting. So, you can't expect things just to happen naturally. We actually repurposed a person's job description to cover this, not completely, but to make sure that we had adequate boots on the ground to cover image shooting, as well as videos and content reviews and things like that on an ongoing basis. Additionally, we've teed up conversations with our TDC. And what I mean by that is our TDC, we have certain KPIs, performance measures that we're held against. And some of the traditional ones are site visits and things like that. So we've already started the conversation to let them know that the Google ecosystem is kind of changing things. And so on the horizon, they'll be better prepared when we recommend different changes. So thank you very much.
Good morning. My name's Leah. I had the opportunity and honor last year of presenting with Nate and some of this group in Montreal. Obviously, the view out of my office window has changed significantly since then, so what a difference a year makes. Last year I was presenting with Explore Branson as the Chief Marketing Officer there. We partnered with Miles and Google to launch this program, so we were one of 2 DMOs who were a beta test, seeing how this was all going to work together and what kind of results we could achieve. Now I am the Chief Marketing Officer of about 2 months ago of the newly formed DMO, Discover Puerto Rico. So to give you a little bit of context about that, we're 12 days old, so the DMO just launched on July 1st, and until then, Puerto Rico tourism was housed under the government of Puerto Rico. In 2017, around February, bipartisan legislation developed the DMO and broke that out into a privatization so that we can now more effectively market the island. We're building a team of about 50 people. I was employee number 2 that was hired to really dig into research to really better understand how we can reach our audience and kind of get around the changing that the brand was experiencing every time a new administration came on the scene. So the hope is that the DMO is really going to establish a lot of brand equity and is going to establish continuity for Puerto Rico that is going to help us move forward rather significantly. So you may remember in 2017, in September of 2017, we were impacted very significantly by Hurricane Maria. So this project, again, as the DMO took over the marketing efforts, we started talking to Miles and understanding that for Puerto Rico, this was more than kind of a sexy new beta marketing project. This was really going to have significant impact in many ways. What you can see here, and Nate, I don't know if my notes are showing on here, so, but what you can see here is from October of 2016, this is Punta Santiago, so this is the east side of the island. This was obviously pre-hurricane, and here's what it looks like in October of 2017. So these images are continuing to evolve, but you can understand how the impact of the hurricane has increased kind of the visibility of some of the damage that is across the island right now. So having Google come in and having Miles come in to start reassessing what these assets are and re-uploading in order to change perception of the island is critical, not just from a marketing standpoint, but to our businesses and to our partners who are relying on these images to show what the island looks like today. So, of course, this is important for many, many reasons. The increased visibility and reach of these images is really going to portray a perception of the brand that right now is not great. So I think it's no secret that we are struggling with perception issues. We just had some articles released today that are still talking about the status of the island post-hurricane. There are still some people without power. And what we need is to be able to show in real life how these images really are reflecting the destination today. Unfortunately, we can't control all of the things in Google and all of the results that are pulling up via Google. Just when people are searching for regular information about vacations in Puerto Rico, those results are still impacted by hurricanes. You can here you can see Puerto Rico vacations. Even in Rincon on the west side of the island, people are looking for results for places to stay, and hurricane results are continuing to be populated there. So what is our strategy? In early July, we are working still, we're almost complete in terms of the audit that Miles has come in to see what kind of assets do exist. Like you saw in Discover the Palm Beaches, there's a lot of really interesting photography, creative photography across the island. A lot of it is hurricane related, some is not hurricane related, but as you can imagine, a lot of it is not really positive. We're going to be partnering in July and August with a local not-for-profit, the Foundation for Puerto Rico. They have a database of assets totaling about 11,000 points of interest, so we're very, very fortunate that this organization has already developed a very, very robust database for us that we're going to be able to tap into and immediately start uploading information about all of those points of interest. They also have photography. Because of this transition from sort of government tourism into the DMO, we're not inheriting a lot of assets from a photography standpoint or even from just general information standpoint. So this is going to give us a huge leg up. In August and September, we'll be creating new imagery and 360 videos documenting the recovery of key tourist areas around the island. And then in October, we're going to be doing sort of a roadshow where Miles is going to be helping educate our industry partners about how they can make the most out of this program. Of course, there are lots of free opportunities for our industry partners to get involved and make an impact on their own listings. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Nate, okay? Yeah.
Thank you, Leah. Thank you, Rich. Overall, in the last year, with the 50 destinations that we have visibility on, there have been more than 20 million views of DMO assets that have been uploaded and distributed through the Google content ecosystem. So this is really, if we think back to, kind of old school organic search, this is the gift that keeps on giving from a DMO perspective. You do the work, and obviously, as Rich alluded to, you want to continue to document and show the destination in its most current pace. But once you do that work, that content lives on its own. It informs consumers, it creates additional DMO reach, it extends your own branding, and it really kind of recalibrates that value proposition for the DMO with the industry as well. As Rich had talked to, as we all face that kind of question of relevance or the challenge of relevance with our stakeholders, as much as the Google team would like to work with every single individual business within your destination, that's just not a realistic scale. And the DMO has an opportunity to be that educational bridge, to be that advocate, to help educate your own partners and create value through that knowledge and through the resources that you can access for free here. So in terms of resources, how to apply, come to the booth. As I mentioned, you can sign up to be entered into to join the Google Partnership Program, and you can decline to ever hear from me or anyone from Miles again, or you can hear from us, either way. But please come to the booth. We realize, we fully acknowledge that after the tomatoes last year, there was a lot of interest, and I know a lot of people have applied or filled out a form. If we're not already in contact with you, if the Google team hasn't already set you up, please come and reapply. We're kind of starting with a clean slate here for anybody who got lost in the mix around the original excitement around this. So please come back, reapply. The Google team can help you. They'll be at the booth. I'll be at the booth. And I just, again, I end on sort of my soapbox saying, there's an opportunity here. It costs nothing. It increases relevance. Please take advantage of it. And thank you guys very much for coming and selecting us among a baker's dozen of sessions.